I'll never forget the moment my phone rang that Tuesday morning. It was the kind of call that makes your stomach sink before you even answer. The number was unfamiliar, but I picked up anyway, and the voice on the other end said something that froze me in place. "This is Animal Control. We've had multiple reports of animal neglect and aggression at your address. We're sending someone out." Neglect? Aggression? For a few seconds, my brain couldn't even process it. My eyes darted out the back window where Max, my 12-year-old golden retriever, was sprawled in the grass, rolling lazily onto his back to soak up the sun. His legs kicked gently in the air as if he was dreaming of chasing butterflies. Neglected? Aggressive? Max wouldn't hurt a fly. When I opened the door to meet the officer, I could feel my pulse hammering in my temples. He was polite, professional, but his stance carried authority. He asked to see the dog, and I led him out back, every step heavy with the weight of injustice. Max lumbered over, tail wagging so hard his whole body wiggled. The officer crouched, scratched him behind the ears, and laughed when Max licked his face. "This dog looks great," the officer admitted, already less stiff. He checked Max's coat, his eyes, even his teeth. Within minutes he straightened up and said, "He looks well cared for, but we've had several calls about this address, all from the HOA president." And just like that, it clicked. Karen. Karen, my neighbor 3 doors down. Karen, the self-crowned queen of the HOA. Karen, who believed every blade of grass, every shade of paint, and every passing moment of silence belonged to her to regulate. Since the day I moved in, she had found ways to nitpick my life. Trash cans a few inches out of alignment, my mailbox supposedly a shade darker than regulation, the sound of Max's occasional bark. She thrived on control. But this? Accusing me of abusing my dog? This wasn't just control. This was character assassination. I thanked the officer, assured him Max was healthy, and closed the door, my hands trembling. But it wasn't the shaky, helpless anger of someone being bullied. No, this was something colder, sharper, more deliberate. Sitting at my kitchen table, Max resting his head heavily on my lap as if to ground me, I whispered to him, "She has no idea who she's messing with. Because here was what Karen didn't know. I am not just a random dog owner. I'm the county veterinarian, the very person animal control calls when they need evaluations on cases of neglect or abuse, the one who signs off on whether an animal has been mistreated. For her to accuse me of abuse wasn't just insulting. It was a direct attack on my life's work. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Karen's smug face at HOA meetings, lording over neighbors who were too tired or too scared to push back. I remembered the way she once berated an elderly man for painting his shutters the wrong shade of beige. The time she demanded a single mom power wash her driveway in the middle of winter. She was a bully with a title, and she had finally crossed the wrong line. By morning, my anger had hardened into resolve. I wasn't going to let this slide. If Karen wanted to play with fire, I'd make sure she got burned. The first thing I did was gather evidence. I pulled out Max's full medical history, vaccinations, prescriptions, weight charts, every record from the day I brought him home as a puppy. I took photos of his food, his bed, his toys, his clean bowls of water. Then I called a friend at Animal Control and scheduled a follow-up inspection, confident that Max would pass with flying colors. When the officer returned, he chuckled at how overprepared I was. "If all the dogs I saw were this healthy," he said, "I'd be out of a job." He signed off the case immediately. But clearing my name wasn't enough. Karen had tried to humiliate me, to brand me as an abuser in front of my community. I wanted more than vindication. I wanted justice. So I filed a formal harassment complaint against her with the HOA, documenting everything. I knew most HOAs protect their little tyrants, but I had an advantage. I wasn't just another frustrated neighbor. I was the county vet, and I knew how to present evidence in a way no one could ignore. The day of the HOA meeting, the room buzzed with the usual tension. Neighbors sat in stiff rows, clutching notes about weeds or fence repairs, while Karen sat at the front like a queen on her throne, clipboard in hand, lips pressed into her permanent scowl. She called the meeting to order and began her usual tirade about lawn heights and mailbox colors. When the floor opened for concerns, I stood. My voice was calm, steady, but every word carried weight. "I need to address a serious matter," I said, and the room fell silent. I laid out Karen's false reports to animal control, how she accused me of neglecting my dog, how taxpayer resources had been wasted chasing down her lies. Karen tried to interrupt, her voice shrill. "Your dog barks all hours of the night. He's aggressive, I turned to her slowly. "You accused a county veterinarian of animal abuse. Do you understand how reckless that is?" The murmurs in the room grew into a low rumble. Eyes that once avoided Karen now locked onto her with suspicion and anger. For the first time, she looked small. I handed the board my meticulously organized file. Vet records, photographs, the signed clearance from animal control. It was undeniable. The board members shifted uncomfortably. One asked Karen if she had any evidence to support her claims. She stammered, her face blotchy red. I trusted my instincts," she muttered. That was her downfall. Instincts don't stand up to evidence. By the end of the meeting, a motion had been made to remove Karen as HOA president. The vote wasn't even close. She sat there, pale and trembling, as her power slipped through her fingers. But my revenge wasn't finished. A week later, a letter arrived from the county legal office. Karen was being fined thousands of dollars for filing false reports. Apparently, the law doesn't take kindly to wasting government resources with lies. The neighborhood quickly turned on her. People she had bullied for years now laughed behind her back. I overheard one neighbor whisper, "Did you hear what she did to the vet? Tried to get his dog taken away." Another replied, "Serves her right. About time someone put her in her place." Karen, once the terror of the block, now slunk around with her head down. I'd see her dart to her car, avoiding eye contact, her former arrogance replaced by something pitiful. And me? For the first time in months, I felt peace. Max lounged in the sun without me glancing nervously at my phone. The air felt lighter. Neighbors even started waving to me more, as if grateful that someone had finally stood up to her. The best part wasn't just Karen's downfall. It was the justice of it all. She tried to weaponize a system meant to protect the innocent, and it turned against her. She underestimated me, underestimated Max, underestimated the truth. And when the truth came out, it didn't just clear my name, it crushed hers. Now, when I sit on my porch with Max's head heavy on my lap, I don't just feel relief. I feel vindication. Because sometimes karma doesn't wait. Sometimes, if you're patient and smart, you get to deliver it yourself. And let me tell you, nothing tastes sweeter. So if you've ever felt powerless against someone who thrived on making your life miserable, remember this. Bullies crumble under the weight of the truth. Karen thought she was untouchable. But in the end, all it took was a spotlight to show everyone who she really was. And my sweet Max? He still rolls in the grass, chases butterflies in his dreams, and soaks up the sunshine without a care in the world. Because justice wasn't just served. It was savored.